Okay. What's your name?
Moshe.
Hi, Moshe. How are you? Moshe what? Moshe what?
Boruch.
From
Phoenix.
Phoenix. In fact. It's a nice place to be from. Okay. Last time we got into the heat of the matter. Is there such a saying? I think there isn't, there is now, but there must be something better than that. We asked two questions at the beginning of the Mayanot. If the, and this was all, of course, based on the fact that we were learning that the Iker miracle of Hanukkah is the Milchama, as a simple shot in the whole story. If there weren't a victory in the Milchama, if there weren't a victory in the war, then there wouldn't have been any other miracles. That itself, we know, we saw, is a function of a machlokes, both in Chassidus and in Nigla, as to what is the Iker Nes. But the Rebbe made it very, very clear that the Frierdiker Rebbe's mind, which this is based on, which was said in Tafresh Tzadik Ches, right, 1937. The Rebbe said this mimer 50 years later. So the focus of this mimer is that the war was the Iker miracle. And if that's the case, based on that position, so then why isn't Hanukkah on the 24th of Kislev? Because that's when the war happened. It's when the war finished. Right? That was one question. The second question was, since the essential miracle of the oil, there were two miracles of the oil, finding the oil and also the fact that the oil burned miraculously for 8 days instead of one. That miracle simply starts on the 26th of Kislev, right? Meaning for the 25th there was enough oil. So then why do we not mark that day as a special day in Hanukkah? It's just one of the 8 days and there's no special significance to the 26th. Why not? Right? Okay, that was the second question that Rabbi asked. In order to answer that, so we saw something rather interesting, right? Chav Daled, Chav Hei, Chav Vav. 24, 25, 26. Those are the 3 days we're talking about. Those correspond to 3 different levels of the unity of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. This is what we saw part of this on Thursday. Excuse the voice. Baruch Hashem, it's after Yud Tes Kislev. So I guess if you don't have a voice like this, say if you remember Yud Tes Kislev, you weren't there, but I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. But, I saw something, I heard something, I didn't see it, I heard it. You know, hanging around Lubavitch, so you hear new things all the time, because there's so much Torah Shabbat Peh in Lubavitch. It's not necessarily Torah Shabbat Peh, it's just, you know, it might be written down because it's actually in a sikha that the Rebbe said, and so that sikha has been written down, but Love Dafka, you've run into it. So evidently the Rebbe, I heard about this on my way to shul with my son, because he said that usually they daven early enough to get home. It's a shul that's very close to all the people that daven there, because it was a COVID shul. So it was all the people in that area of the neighborhood who made a shul, and then it turned out they ended up building a little building, and they have a shul with 30 guys. It's beautiful, beautiful shul. So it's close to everybody, so they daven early enough on these winter Shabbosim to get home to be with their kids at 5:30, 5:45, and make Kiddush early. So he said that tonight we're sitting in shul till 7 o'clock because we're making Kiddush on time in shul. There's going to be a Kiddush in shul for bringing for an hour and a half, and then we're all going home. He said the Rebbe evidently said, not evidently, the Rebbe said, when there's a kviyas like this year, when the 20th falls out on Shabbos, so Rebbe used this language. A person who goes to shul and then goes home to make kiddush without a verbrengen is a wilder mensch. He's a wild person. Like who could imagine there's such a person? Now, I've been around a while. I never heard that. So I mean, I've done that many times. I don't know how wild I am. I did it out of ignorance. But Baruch Hashem, this year everybody heard about that sikha. So Baruch Hashem. Sat in for brain for an hour and a half before going home, which was an interesting experience. Baruch Hashem. Chaf Daled is the 24 letters of Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusay V'Elam Vayt, which we say after Krishna. Chaf Hey is the 25 letters of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. 26 we haven't seen yet, right, in the Minor. But 26 is, of course, the numerical value of Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. The Shem, Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei. 24 represented what was Baruch Shem Kavod? You can say it in two words. Yeah. What?
Oh.
What was Baruch Shem Kavod?
Lower unity.
Lower level unity. Beautiful. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Upper level unity. And that's as far as we got, but we know there's a third level. Okay, what's lower level unity? Recognizing godliness in the context of the world. Right? There's going to be that's going to be the Milchama, exactly. Recognizing godliness in the context of the world, but in no way, shape, or form is there no world. There's a world. God created a world. It says, Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'sa'aretz. And from the perspective of the existence of that world, I'm in that world, experience my own existence, experience the existence of the world, but realize that that existence is ultimately, the purpose of that existence is to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's called Yehuda Tatal, lower level unity, recognizing the unity of God in the context of the lower realms of reality, created reality. Right? That's lower level unity. What aspect of Hanukkah relates to that? The war. That's a level of reality where there's a battle constantly between the Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Torah, between Gashmias and Ruchnias, between the physicality and spirituality. It's a battle. Right? It's not that there's some unbelievably powerful level of godly light that obliterates all opposition. In no way, shape, or form is that what happens in the level of Yehuda Tatal, lower level unity. And that, I don't know whether we actually saw it yet, we might have. But that's the level of Veata, of service, called Bittul Yesh. It's Bittul Yesh. I'm a Yesh. I'm an existence. I experience myself as separate from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But I realize that that's not true. I'm not truly separate from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I want to express my existence in a fashion in which I reveal the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In other words, what's a yesh? What's someone who's batel? Batel, we've talked about this, but it's important to say over and over and over and over again. Batel has what's called in America a bad rap. What's bittul, people think? Bittul means that you sit in a chair and drool all day because you have no initiative, no personality, you're just a nothing. Absolutely the opposite. Bittul is that you realize that your life is all about expressing godliness and not expressing self. And that's the person who gets more done than anybody else. Because if I'm worried about self, what am I worried about? Well, I'm worried about what you think about me. So I'm very, very limited in what I'm going to do because I'm only going to do things that are somehow acceptable by you and society at large. I'm going to be very, very limited in that, in terms of that. Whereas if I'm not limited by that, so then I'll do whatever is necessary in order to reveal truth. That might even mean, again, we talked about this last week, that might even mean that at the age of 22 or 23, she might be 21 and they might have one little one that's going along with them. They could set up shop in some town that's never seen anybody that looks like them, who wears a hat and a jacket and he has a beard and she actually wears clothes, and they set up in a town, not worried about what people are going to think about them, but with the idea that we have an agenda to bring these people closer to an awareness of God. Call a shaliach. You have to be bottled to do that. If all you're thinking about is yourself, so you're going to be a little embarrassed about the way you look, because you sure look funny relative to everybody else around. Okay, but that's irrelevant. Who cares? Right? Okay. Now, I can look that way. I'm not saying that. I can look that way in a community where everybody looks that way, and it's not a function of bittul in any way, shape, or form. I might even be just conforming to something, and I don't really believe in any of it. Okay, that could also be. Right? Hopefully not, but that's possible. But it's going to be harder to go out in the middle of nowhere and look this way if there isn't a certain aspect of bittul, a certain aspect at least to understand my agenda is connected to an agenda beyond me. It's not about me, it's about something bigger than me. And that's called bittul yesh. I am. It's not that I'm not. I experience my own existence. I have my, and a bittul does not mean I don't have a personality. Every single one of us has a personality, but that personality should be used to promote a Kadosh Baruch Hu, as opposed to promoting yourself. Right? A yesh walks in a room, and his agenda is that everybody in the room should think he is fill in the blank. A good athlete, intelligent, religious, funny, a good musician, depends what room you walked into and what the people in the room think is important. Just, you have to fill in. It's not the same. You walk into a room and you want to be religious and all these people are into, I don't know, rock and roll music, so then you're not going to be considered such a great guy. So that's the wrong room to walk into if you want to be the coolest guy in the room. Okay, fine. But that's a yesh. That's yeshus. Now we all experience that at times, right? Okay, so that's the opposite of bittul. What's bittul? That same person can walk into the room, and what's his agenda? I hope I can do something in this room at this time that will help people have a greater appreciation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now they're going to have to like me in order to do that. If they think I'm a jerk, so then I'm not going to have a very positive effect on them, right? Okay, so you're going to have to be somewhat creative, and you're going to have to be friendly and nice and interesting. Okay, fine. But that's not about you being accepted. That's about you being able to do what it is that you think is important for you to do. Now, it doesn't mean you hit them over the baseball bat, hit them over the head with a baseball bat or a cricket bat. And I'm just looking at these two Englishmen opposite me. And scream, God is great. That's probably not going to work. And it might even be, if you're smart, you realize, this is a long-term project with these people. I'm not necessarily going to make any headway today, but I might make a certain progress today toward, a certain amount of progress to where I'd like to get. Because I want to develop a relationship with these people in such a way that they can benefit from that relationship. Okay, that's called bittul. That doesn't mean the person's a normal, everyday person. It's just a matter of what's driving them to do what they want, and that do what they want done. Right? Whose agenda? Theirs or the Eibishter's? As a chassid, theirs or the Rebbe's? Because what's the Rebbe's agenda? The Rebbe's agenda is that God should be revealed in the world. How do I do that? Well, okay, how do I serve God in the world? So as a chassid, a person understands that the Rebbe knows how to help me serve God better than anybody else, and so his agenda is my agenda. Okay, that's what a chassid will say. Fine. Does he necessarily live that? He understands that intellectually. Does he live that? Okay, so then that's a matter of a Veata, right? That's called bittul yesh. That's Yehuda Tata, lower level unity. And that's Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Elam Ved that we say after Krishma. Malchus, Kadosh Baruch Hu is king. Ein melech b'lei am. There's no king if there isn't a people. Malchus is that aspect of godliness that is responsible for the creation of the world. There's a world. Where did it come from? Malchus. Malchus of Atzilus is that place in godliness that is the source of what you and I call Kriya Yesh Miayin, Kriyatio ex nihilo. I should put on a gargle when I say something so intelligent, huh? Wow. Phew, where'd I learn that? I learned that from Mendy Lent. Mendy Lent taught me that. He taught me Kriyato ex nihilo and how to eat cheese. Okay.
Good cheese.
Got to send birthday wishes. And his brother Shmuley, it was his birthday, Yud Tes Kislev. Also their father.
1840.
You're right. This year they're 80 and 40. That's interesting, though. Father and son have the same birthday. He was 80 this year, and the son was 40 this year. You know everything. How are your mamash in the
I saw that on videos.
Yeah, right. I saw a picture of the four of them, and my son-in-law sent me the picture and said, you might want to send Shmuley birthday greetings, and I did want to send Shmuley birthday greetings, but it was Yud Tes Kislev, and I didn't get around to it. That's just the way it is. Okay. Never too late. I can send them today. So that's bittul yesh. That's Yehuda Tata, and that's our avodah. You and I, that's our avodah. Our avodah is the avodah of bittul yesh. I'm aware of myself. I make a lot of noise in my own life. Okay, can I somehow, do I have the sensitivity to what's really going on to focus that life on something bigger than me? That doesn't mean I'm not going to experience me. I'm going to experience me. Okay? Tzaddikim don't. Tzaddikim are the next level, which is called Yehudi law, upper level unity, where what? there is a world, but the world is all elokus. It's not that there's a creation and I'm trying to reveal godliness in it. I realize that the world is elokus, right? The diuk in the Lashon relative to Avram Avinu, kel oilam. It doesn't say the God of the world, it says the God is the world. The world is elokus. The true reality of the world is just a revelation of God. Right? You and I see the external veneer. Okay, that's bittul yesh. You and I are very powerfully aware of the yesh. What does a tzaddik see? He sees just different aspects of godly reality. Just sees the revelation of God in finite. Can God be revealed in finite? Yes, of course God can be revealed in finite because God's not infinite, he's beyond infinite. Can be revealed in infinite and it can be revealed in finite. Right? It's not limited by being infinite. If infinite reality can't be expressed in finite, if it is, then it's no longer infinite, now it's finite. God's not limited that way, God's not limited in any way. So infinite godliness you and I call Or. Okay, that's Yehuda Ilah, light. Yud Kei Vav Kei, the source of light. Godly reality. Finite reality, the source of that is a name of God called Elokim. Interesting enough, a name of God that's written in plural to denote the fact that it is, and is conjugated in the plural, meaning Psukim will say Elokim Kadoshim, holy gods. Chas v'shalom is not holy God, it's holy God. It just happens to be, it's the name of God that is responsible for multiplicity, responsible for reality that you and I experience, where there's all sorts of stuff, not one. What's Yud Kei Vav Kei? Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. The absolute unity of God that's revealed. The tzaddik is living that state. And that's a state called Yehudi Ilah, and that's a state called Bittul B'Metzias. His whole Metzias, his whole existence is Bittul. Right? Doesn't see himself as separate from God, serving God. He sees himself as just an extension of God. Right? Not another God, right? But there's no battle, there's no war, there's no opposing force that's perhaps causing me to want to be pulled another way. It's tzaddik, which must be a rather interesting way to live.
So does a tzaddik fundamentally have a different experience of reality? Because I know towards the end of the life of the Alter Rebbe, it says that he said that he sees everything as light, like he just sees the light emanating from everything.
Okay, so what does that mean, light? Well, yes, he has a completely different experience of reality than you and I. There's no question. What does that mean, light? Sometimes we take light a little too seriously, right? Light is just a muscle for godly energy. God's not light. Right? We talked about this here in this room, I don't know when, but it came up in skillfully for a couple of times. That when malachim bring, when angels bring, what parable do they use for godly energy? Obviously not light, because they don't live in a world where there's physical light. So what muscle do they use? I don't know. Now, they don't need as many mashalim as you and I do, because they do see elokus on a certain level. So you and I don't need mashalim for plastic, for paper cups, because I have the paper cup. Okay. I don't need a parable for a paper cup. I'll use it as a parable for something else, because that's what I perceive. Okay, but they're still not perceiving the most powerful expression of what you and I would call godly light. So why do they refer that? Why ask the question? To emphasize the fact that when we say light is just a muscle that we use for godly energy, because we live in a world where there's this stuff called light, and it's a perfect muscle for godly energy, because it's always connected to its source. It spreads out infinitely. Right? It reveals everything it touches. Right? Okay, so that's an amazing muscle for godly reality. Why did God create physical light the way he created physical light? So you and I could talk about him. Right? Have a muscle. So when the Alter Rebbe says he saw light, what does that mean? It means he saw in a very, very real way the godliness and everything around him. So that's law, exactly that. Completely different experience. When you walk by a tzaddik, what does he see? Your goof or your neshama? He sees your neshama. He sees your goof. It's not that the goof isn't there, but he sees your neshama shining through that goof. That's why he believes in you. Why might I not believe in myself? I don't see that part of myself. I know it's there, but I can see this part. Experience, seeing is one thing. Experiencing the physicality of us is that can, so to speak, blind us to the light, right? Okay. Bittul Yeshus, we don't let it. The second level, Shema Yisrael, Bittul B'Metzias. Yehudi Ilah, upper level unity. Hashem Echad. Ve'ein Sheni. There's nothing else. Okay. But we're going to see that also has a certain level of limitation. There's something beyond that also. That's what we'll see now. Okay? Say that. So we got up to 1, 2, in Ois Gil, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, we read this, but say let's read it again so we'll get a running start on it. V'hanes, last word on the line, 5 lines down. V'hanes taspakas Hashemen, the nace of the Shemen lasting Shmona Yomim, Shizka B'chav Vav Kislev, that start on the 26th of Kislev. That itself, you should know, I mean, we've talked about this, but that itself is not 100% clear, especially based on the Rebbe's whole sheet as to how it all happened. But Rebbe's basic sheet in how Chanukah happens was we lit the first night, burnt all night, but the original oil that we put in there was still there at the end of the night. In other words, it burnt, but it didn't disappear. Similar to the Aron, that the Aron in the Kodesh HaKadoshim took up space, but didn't take up space. It had measurements in space. It was 2.5 ames long, 1.5 ames wide, and 1.5 ames high. An ame is about half a meter. Right? It took up space. It had to be exactly those dimensions. If it wasn't those dimensions, it actually would have taken up space. It had to be exactly those dimensions in space. It was in the middle of the Beis HaMikdash, in the middle of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. But if you measured from the wall, in the Mishkan it was 10 ames. In the Beis HaMikdash it was 20 ames. In the Mishkan, from here to here was 10 ames. That means from here to here was 5 ames, right? That's half of 10 is 5. We're all in agreement of that. The education system is that we all know that. Okay, yeah, he's not so sure. Okay, we're saying that, right? 5. If you measure from here to here, it was also 5. Now that's obviously impossible. Well, it's impossible for you and me, but it's not impossible for the Eibishter, and that's the beautiful expression of a level beyond infinite, beyond finite. It's in space, taking up space, but it doesn't take up space. Meaning, if you were to bump into it, you'd get a bruise. Worse would happen if you were bumping into the Kodesh HaKadosh, if you were walking around the Kodesh HaKadoshim. But relative to its physical reality, you would get a bruise. It's there. It has physical dimension, but it doesn't take up physical space. That paradox of paradox is the ultimate expression of the highest levels of godly reality. Okay. So too, the Rebbe says, this is just parenthetical in terms of understanding exactly how the miracle worked. So too, the Rebbe says that's how that same level of reality was revealed through the oil of the menorah. That it burnt all night, but it didn't burn. And it was still there in the morning. And so therefore, the first day was just as miraculous as all of the others. Right? Why does the Rebbe not want to follow the sheet that the Beis Yosef quotes that it burnt all night and then the next day when they went to look it was full again? We talked about this last week, just a beautiful question. There's so much R Rebbe, this question. You can't fulfill the mitzvah with that oil because it's not olive oil, it's miracle oil. And it doesn't say you light the menorah with miracle oil, it says you light the menorah with olive oil. It's so R Rebbe, it's unbelievable to say that. It's just amazing. No one ever would say that until the Rebbe came along. The Beis Yosef doesn't say that. He says that's what happened. Okay. It's amazing. It has to be olive oil. So the way the Rebbe explains it, it's like olive oil. It's the same olive oil that was crunched in there the first time. Well, it just stayed somehow. So in that sense, there are 8 days of miracle with the oil, so it didn't exactly start on Chaf Vav, but I guess the very fact that it was still there for Chaf Vav, that would be the beginning of the miracle, okay, on a certain level. So what's that? So the Rebbe says, Chaf Vav, that was Chaf Vav Kislev. Chaf Vav v'gematria Havaya, hu l'mayla gam Yehudi Ilah. This is also beyond, higher than Yehudi Ilah. Okay, so how's that work? Dagam, that even though Shegam Yehudi Ilah, even though Yehudi Ilah hu b'shem Havaya is from Shem Havaya, as we've been saying, Havaya Echad, Yud Kei Vav Kei, as opposed to Shem Elokim, which is the source of Yehuda Tatah, the source of the reality that brings about the revelation of this lower level unity, and brings about the need for this level of avodah that you and I call Bittul HaYesh. There is a Yesh, but it should be Batul. Dagam, that even though she Yehudi law, upper level unity b'shem Havaya, Hashem Havaya Echad, Kamavur b'kama mekaymes, as is explained in a number of places, and here the Rebbe actually says in our Mimer these terms of Bittul Yesh, Bittul Mitzis, which we haven't seen yet. As is said in a number of places, Shahabittul shemitzad Shem Elokim, the level of Bittul, and again Bittul, self-abnegation, self-nullification, what that means is a connection to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, a more powerful connection to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and a slightly less powerful connection to self. That's bittul. Does not mean you're a nothing. Adarabah. The only way you actually can become something is by being connected to what's real, and that's the Eibishter. You're not doing it to be a something. That even though the bittul of bittul hayesh mitzad Shem Elokim hu bittul hayesh, that the level of bittul, the level of connection to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, that is a function of the reality that comes from Shem Elokim, Bereshis bara Elokim hu bittul hayesh, that's Yehuda Tatah, that's lower level unity. Va bittul, and the connection, the avodah, the sensitivity to godliness, that is called Yehuda Ilah. Bittul b'metzias, which we now see the words, where the person's whole metzias is batul, who dafka is specifically mitzad Shem Havaya, that's Shem Havaya, that's a higher level. In different terms, we said this, but we'll say it again, Shem Elokim is the name that's relevant to that reality that you and I call Kalim, that aspect of reality that allows God to be revealed in finite ways and, so to speak, differentiated ways. And what's Shem Havaya? The source of Or. What's Or? One. Just Or. Just there. Once the Or, in terms of physical Or, once physical Or reflects off a Kli, what's revealed in that Or? A specific expression of that Or. The Or itself, we've done this so many times, but okay, we'll do it again. Right? Why are we doing it again? Because if you don't know this like you know the back of your hand, then you'll never understand what reality is about. What's he doing in here? Right? Okay? That's blue, right? What happens? What's the reality of that experience called blue? Out here, there's colorless light. But interesting enough, it's not exactly colorless. It contains within it the potential to express itself in an infinite variety of light. Of color, infinite variety of color, the light that's here. It itself is colorless. Okay, but it's not colorless. It contains within it an infinite potential for color. When it hits this Kli, this is not how godliness works. This is how physical life works. Godliness works in terms of being absorbed into the Kli. Okay, we're talking about reflection off the Kli. Fine, doesn't matter. Right? So, what does this thing do? It reveals one specific finite expression of the infinite potential of color that existed in the light when it was right here. What shines back at you? Blue. What does this thing do? It absorbs all of that, the other possibilities of light, and reflects back to you one expression of color. One expression of color. It absorbs into it all other expressions of color. So what does it do? It hides the infinite aspect of the light relative to color and reveals one specific aspect of the light relative to color. That's what's happening in physics with this book. Okay, this absorbs it all. That white shirt under there is reflecting it all. So no color in either of those. Right? Okay, fine. That's how light works in Gashmias. Well, that works that way, so you and I can understand something about Elokus. What do Kalim do? They allow for specific, unique expressions of godly realities. That means God is finite? No. The source of that is ultimately an infinite reality called light. Okay, but that light is being expressed in a finite and specific form by virtue of that Kli. That's how it works. Okay. What's the source of the kelim in Elokus? Elokim. What's the source of the light in Elokus? Yud Kei Vav Kei. Much of Chassidus spends a great deal of time explaining Havaya Hu Elokim. Yud Kei Vav Kei and Elokim, they're the same. What do you mean they're the same? One's infinite, one's finite. They're two completely different states of reality. Okay, but they're all both equally expressions of godly reality. There's no more or less God. There's no more or less God in light or kli. It's all Him. Now that's Yehudi law. Right? Yehuda Tata, the kli will hide the light. You'll see blue. In Yehudi law, what will you see? Well, the blue is just a revelation of the infinite light that it's reflecting. That's Yehudi law.
So, the Yehudi law is the higher level. So on the
That's what wordy law means. Is that right?
So you're not saying the one thing it's giving off. You're seeing all the possibilities of it.
You're not experiencing finite reality. You're experiencing infinite reality. Now, I don't know what that means when you're a tzaddik walking around in the world. Obviously, they're experiencing finite reality, right? But they know that finite reality is really an expression of something beyond it. They're not fooled by the veneer. You and I are fooled by the veneer. We try to act in such a way, and I don't mean it's not an act. I mean we try to lead our lives in such a way that we're not truly fooled by the veneer. But my experience is of the veneer. I'm not seeing the panemius of it. I'm seeing the external reality of it. I just want to live my life in such a way that I'm not truly fooled by it. I realize it's just a veneer, and I'm going to act in terms of what's really going on, which is the inner reality of what I'm experiencing. But I'm not experiencing the inner reality. I'm experiencing the external reality. That's bit layesh. Layesh. Right? I wake up in the morning, it's me again. Here I am. But the first thing the person says is, Maydani lifanecha, I know I come from you. Right? Okay, so that's bit layesh. I mean, that's even higher on a certain level, okay? But in terms of our experience, that's bit layesh. Okay? It's really higher, Maydani. Okay, say there. So what's the source of the bittul of Yehudi law? Bittul b'metzias, hu dafka mitzad shem havaya. Okay. But now the Rebbe wants to talk about a level beyond havaya. So the Rebbe's going to talk about two different levels of havaya. This is brought in Chassidus all the time. Yud Kei Vav Kei, that name of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, what does it denote? It denotes both the level of godly light that is the source of the four worlds. It also denotes, I guess charity is getting in my head, I mean the donation. It denotes the highest, completely transcendent level of godly reality, and that's called Havaya de La'ela, upper level Yud Kei Vav Kei. So just like we're talking about upper level Yud Kei Vav Kei, we're now going to talk about two different levels of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Yud Kei Vav Kei, that is the map of what we call Seder Ishtalshalos, the four worlds, created reality, right? Including the godly reality responsible for created reality, and a level of reality called Eilam Atzilus, the world of emanation, which is not created, it's God, but it's that aspect of God that is the source of the next three levels of reality called the world of Bria, the world of Yetzirah, and the world of Asiya, the worlds, the created worlds, metaphysical created worlds, and ultimately this physical created world. Okay, what's in the metaphysical world? Angels, souls. After they've left this world, the souls go to that place. Certain aspects of our soul. Lower level Gan Eden is in Eilam HaYetzirah. Upper level Gan Eden is in Eilam HaBriya. Right? Two different levels of Gan Eden. Upper level, souls that have reached a higher level, souls that are still on a slightly lower level. They're still experiencing an incredibly powerful revelation of God where they are. Okay, but there's something beyond. It's called upper level Gan Eden. Right? Okay, the best Verbrengens are in Gan Eden Elyon, because that's where the best Verbrengeners are. You want to hear the Alter Rebbe Verbrengen, you better work, get whoever is responsible for your soul down here, which means your kids. Right? That your kids better be doing good stuff to get you to a higher place so you can hear the Alter Rebbe Verbrengen. Right? Because down there, I don't know who's Verbrengen, and I don't know who's there. It's guys like us, And the people in lower level probably know that there's Farbrengens with the Alter Rebbe up there, and they're sitting down here with, just regular old everyday folk who tell stories about the Alter Rebbe. Say, I want to hear the Alter Rebbe from Bren. So, okay, well, tell your kid down there to get it together and do some mitzvahs so you'll get to a higher level. Tell him to mean it when he says Kaddish for you. So, those worlds are all part of Seder Ishtalshlus, and the name Yud Kei Vav Kei corresponds to those worlds. The Yud is Elam Atzilus, the Kei is Elam Abriya, the Vav is Elam Yetzira, and the lower level Kei is Elam Asiya, the four worlds. The light that is ultimately the source of the existence of those four worlds, that's Yud Kei Vav Kei. That's one aspect of Yud Kei Vav Kei, which means it's connected to the worlds. It's transcendent of the worlds, but it's connected to the worlds. It's the source of. Okay. There's a higher level Yud Kei Vav Kei, what's called Havaya Delayla, completely transcendent of worlds, God himself. Yes, God created the worlds. That's true. Okay, we've talked about this many, many times. What do Chazal say? B'machshava achas bara alma. With one thought, God created the world. What does that mean? With one thought, God created everything that exists between the essence of God and this world. Everything. It's all one thought in his life. Okay. So therefore, relative to him, how ultimately, so to speak, important is it? Well, I picked up the cup. Is it true I picked up the cup? It's definitely true I picked up the cup. Am I defined by virtue of the fact that I picked up the cup? Well, I wouldn't think so. Unless you're the cup. If you're the cup, the only thing you'll know about me is I picked you up. But if you have any understanding whatsoever of the person outside of that one event, so you certainly wouldn't define them in terms of that one event. So defining God as the creator of the world is like defining me as the one who picked up the cup. It's true, just rather limiting. That's all God is. That's the other thing God ever did. He's going to write his CV, I created the world. That's it. No, there's a beyond infinite CV. We just can't write it. Don't know what to write. Okay, but the Eibus is a little bigger than simply the creator of the world. He is the creator of the world, and that's very, very important for you and I to understand. And that might be, and we'll see later in the Maimon, the Rebbe is going to discuss it, that might be the first aspect of godly reality that we relate to, which is Bittul Yesh. We realize, okay, there's a world, and here I am, but God created it, and he created it for a purpose, so I better live in line with that purpose, as opposed to just vargle around and do my own thing and then miss the point completely, and be here and leave, and it didn't matter whether I was here or wasn't here. It doesn't. It's a waste of time. Right? Or no, maybe do things that actually matter. Now, everybody does something that matters, right? Whether they know it or not. Okay, but maybe I want to spend my whole existence trying to do things that actually have real meaning and really matter. Why? Not in order to give my life meaning, no, because that's about me. In order to do what's real, in order to connect to what's true. Why? Because it's true. Because of it, not because of me. That's called bittul. Okay. If I'm doing it in order to give my life meaning, so that's great, that's amazing, that's fantastic, but it's not bittul. Right? It's about me. I want my life to have meaning, so I have to keep Shabbos. There's a point, but the first real point of appreciation of Elokus is there's a world, and I'm in it, and there's a reason for its existence, and I want to tap into that reason because that's what's real. Okay. Again, not because of me, because of it. That's bittul yesh. That's the first level most people come to. Interestingly enough, these three levels, all your heart, what does Rashi say? The battle of the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara. Okay, that's Chaf Daled, right? That's the first level. Even if you give up your life, that's Mesiras Nefesh, but Mesiras Nefesh that's coming from. And I'm just saying this for these people to understand it because we've been learning about this. If you haven't heard it in this class, I'm not going to go into it right now. That's the level of Mesiras Nefesh that comes from Chaya Shebenefesh. I want to be connected to God. With all your desire. That's Chaf Hey. That's Bittul B'Metzias. And then the highest level, completely transcendent of everything. You're ma'oid. It's beyond anything. It's beyond you. It's beyond the existence of anything. It's just it. Oh, those are the three levels of we're learning about in this moment. 3 levels of God's unity. So there's the unity of Shema, there's the unity of Baruch Shem, there's the unity of Shema Yisrael. Now the Rebbe is talking about a higher level. So what is this? Beyond Yud Kei Vav Kei. So how does that work? So let's see.
It's beyond Yud Kei Vav Kei?
Well, it's going to be the higher level of Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's beyond the Yud Kei Vav Kei that we talked about up until now in the Mimer. Yes, what you're saying is true, but... So the Rebbe says again, Shabitl mitzad Shem Elokim hu bitl yesh. V'bitl di yichudi ilah hu dafka mitzad Shem Havaya. Mikol makim. Nevertheless, now the Rebbe says something fascinating about that incredible line which we say many times and defines us to a certain degree. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Mikol makim. The fact that it's written in that amazing pasuk of Moshe Rabbeinu teaching us incredible lessons about reality. So Moshe Rabbeinu does not say Baruch Shem Kvod Malchus Eliyah Unveiled in the Torah, right? He doesn't say that. We say that. He doesn't. He says Shema Yisrael v'Ahavta. We say Baruch Shem Kvod quietly because we're embarrassed that we're so powerfully aware of our own existence. Shh, don't tell anybody. Baruch Shem Kvod Malchus Eliyah. But at least I'm serving God, but I'm afraid Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't say that. He's that second level. Right? On Yom Kippur, we say it out loud, because Yom Kippur is a revelation of the fact that this world's what it's really all about, and we're not embarrassed of experiencing our own existence. We realize that the ultimate point is to bring about a revelation of God in the context of our own existence. Oh, okay, cool. We'll see, that's the third level, and we'll see how that is expressed in this mimer also. Okay. Mikol makom, zeh dechsiv behavaya echad. The fact that it says havaya echad, and what could it say? V'lo yachid. What does yachid mean? One word in English.
The only one.
Only. As opposed to, what does echad mean? One. Now what does one allow for? Two. What does only allow for? Nothing. Ooh, that's interesting. We don't say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Yochid. We say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And what does Echad mean? We've talked about this. Well, how's the Shulchan Aruch tell? According to Shulchan Aruch, what are you supposed to think about when you say that word? We've talked about it.
4 corners.
Beautiful. 4 corners of the world, that's the Dalet. The world and the 7 levels of Shemaim, that's the Ches, that's 8. And that's all bottled to the Aleph. That's all completely bottled to the Eibishter. Bittul b'metzias. The existence of all of that is simply godly. Oh, but what does it have? Existence. It's there. Not as a yesh, not as something separate. Yesh means a separate existence. It's not separate, but it's still there. What world is that similar to? Elam Atzilus. What's Elam Atzilus? All the 3 worlds are a state of yesh, bria yesh mi'ayin, the creation of something from nothing. The worlds are a creation of something that is not the Eibishter. It's created reality. It's not God. Okay, but there's a world where that yesh is completely bottled to the Eibishter. It doesn't hide him in any way, shape, or form, and is all about him. That's Olam HaBriya, a world of unbelievable revelation. But there's still a world. There's a world where God is revealed. There's a world that's a yesh, but it's completely bottled to a Kadosh Baruch. Fine. Down here, there's more yesh and less bittul. Up there, there's more bittul and less yesh, but there's still a yesh. Right? The mushal of the Coke bottle, which we talked about on Thursday. Okay, the Coke bottle, which is revealing completely and totally the Coke in it and has no existence other than to reveal the Coke, but it is a bottle. It's not Coke. It's not Coca-Cola. It's a bottle. But it's completely bottled to the Coke. No pun intended. It's completely bottled to the Coke in it because it shows you exactly what's in it and is not interested in its own reality in any way, shape, or form. It's clear. It's a clear vessel that shows you what's really going on, what's really here. Coke. Okay. But there's still a yesh to the bottle. Eilam Atzilus. There's no separate existence to the kli, so to speak. What's the Eilam Atzilus? The 10 spheres. Right? Who other than Dr. November, who said it on Thursday, what's our mushal for the kalim of Atzilus? An ice cup. Beautiful. What's ice? H2O. What's in it? H2O. It's all the same. But this one's in a state of limited reality, ice. You can sculpt it, right? I assume this year, like every year, there will be an ice menorah in Ottawa, Canada, because Ottawa, Canada basically never goes above 0 in the winter. Second coldest capital city in the world. The coldest is evidently in Siberia. It's colder than Moscow. Right? Okay, that's Ottawa. So they actually, Chabad there makes an ice menorah. They sculpt the menorah out of ice and they can keep it there and light it every night because it doesn't thaw, which is just amazing. Now, I guess it depends how early in the season, et cetera. But evidently, I've never been there in the winter, Baruch Hashem. But evidently, it does not go above 0 in the winter.
I have been in the winter and it's very cold.
It's very cold. The Rideau Canal. Did you see the Rideau Canal?
I skated with Rideau.
Oh, so I was just gonna. Is he? You're my hero. You're unbelievable. The Rideau Canal. People in Ottawa. Rideau Canal is a canal that runs through the whole city and also runs through right through downtown Ottawa, which is obviously where most business takes place. Many people skate to work all summer long. They just skate along. It's flat, right? It's easy to skate. They just, with their briefcase, they skate along the Rideau Canal and then get off. I'm sure there's places to warm up right next to it, and they put on their shoes and walk to work. Like, why? It's so much easier than fighting traffic. Right? Did you see them doing it? I've heard of it. I've never seen it because I've heard about it.
They put little stalls on the ice to sell pancakes and
That's even
stuff like that.
on the ice itself.
On the ice, yeah.
Not on the side.
Like on the edge.
Yeah, but it's on. It's okay.
You can skate up and buy
Fine.
hot chocolate.
There. So look at. I guess Ottawa is a mushal for Elam Atzilus. If they just get rid of Trudeau, it'll be better. It's my Canada. Don't make fun of Canada. C-A-N-A-D-A. Canada. Okay. Fine. There's a Metzias of the cup. But the Metzias of the cup is its bottle. It's a Elokus. It's not separate. That's Elam Atzilus. That's the world of Atzilus. That's the place in the Eibishter. What's there? 10 spheres. That's the place in a Kadosh Baruch Hu that is the source of what you and I call created reality. The first level of created reality is not physical. It's metaphysical reality. Elam Abriya, angels, souls, Gan Eden. Okay. So what's Echad? Echad, the Rebbe says, Zediksi b'chinas Echad v'lo yochid sheyeshnam, there is a reality of Zion, Rakim, 7 levels of heaven, v'aretz and aretz, v'daled ruches elam, in the 4 directions of the world, and that's all bottled to the Echad. Ella, there is a reality of that, but shehem betelim, they are completely nullified, umiyuchadim, and one. Not only nullified, but also one with im orein seif alufa shalelam, with the aleph, which is the alufa shalelam. The word aleph is the source of the word aluf, the master of the world. So, but why do we say echad, not yochid? Oh, because Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, the second Shem Hashem in the word, which we're going to talk about in a second, the second Shem Hashem in the word in the sentence is Havaya de Latata, the Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, that is the transcendent level of Elokus, that's the source of immanent reality, created reality. So it's connected to it. It's beyond it, it's the source of it, but it's still defined in terms of it. So it's Echad, a level beyond the worlds, that's the source of the worlds, and really in that place the world is godly. Okay, but there's a world, and that world is godly. There's a place beyond that where there's no world, there's nothing, there's absolutely nothing but the Eibishter. That's going to be the 3rd level. The level of unity of God in the world, the level of unity where the world is God, and then the level beyond world. There's no discussion of world there. What's world? What's that about? Where'd that come from? And that's Yochid. And that's going to be the 26th. Let's see. So that level of Echad, hu lefisha vaya zed, this level of Yud Kei Vav Kei, hu havaya di ishtalshlus. It's the level of Yud Kei Vav Kei that's the source of ishtalshlus. Ishtalshlus means the orderly downward emanation of godly light in the 4 worlds. Havaya de latata, the lower level of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Okay, now if this is getting confusing, or write it down and it's not confusing. There's a level of Yehuda Tata, lower level unity. What name of God relates to that? Elohim. There's a level of upper level unity. What name of God relates to that? Yud Kei Vav Kei. But the lower expression of Yud Kei Vav Kei. And then there's a level beyond both, and that's going to be Havaya de La'ela, the upper expression of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Okay, 3 levels. The world exists, but I understand its purpose is to reveal God. The world is just Elokus, it's just God. A level beyond worlds where there's no, what are you talking about worlds? It's just God. There's no world. Right? Okay. Beyond Bittul B'Metzias. Bittul B'Metzias is there is an existence of the world, but the existence is an existence of Bittul. Right? The world is God. Then there's a level beyond world. It's just the Eibishter. What ultimately exists. Define existence, God. Nothing else has any existence. Ultimately. Okay. So let's see before we stop, let's see if we can figure out what, something about Shema Yisrael, since we're going to say it in about half an hour, so it'd be nice to actually know what we're saying. Right? The Zeu Mashikosu, that which we say, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Now there's something obviously difficult in that pasuk that no one ever notices, because how could it possibly say anything else, because it's Shema Yisrael and it has to say what it says. But there's an obvious problem in that pasuk. What's the problem in that pasuk? Just in terms of pshat in the pasuk. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. What's wrong with that? Why? What question would you ask as someone learning that pasuk in Torah, and you would expect Rashi to answer, which he does?
Why does it say Hashem twice?
Why does it say Hashem twice? Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Echad. Bob's nice, Bob's big. No, Bob's nice and big. Right? Don't talk that way. So why is the pasuk that? Now, it's very hard for us to ask a question in Shema Yisrael, because how can it say anything else in Shema Yisrael? Well, everybody asks the question. Rashi asks the question. Rashi gives an answer to the question. Rashi's answer in the question is really quite astounding. Hashem, Shehu Elokeinu Ata, God who is our God now, but not the God of the nations of the world, will be Hashem Echad. In days of Mashiach, he will be Hashem Echad. He will be understood by everybody. According to Rashi, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad is a statement believing in the coming of Mashiach. Rashi on Chumash. Downtown Judaism. Why does it say Hashem twice? Okay, so here we're going to see something different, which is really not different. Hashem Elokeinu, the level of Hashem that's our Eibishter, that is beyond Hashem Echad, right? Meaning the Eibishter himself, not ours as opposed to anybody else's, just Hashem Elokeinu, that level of godliness that is completely transcendent. And then the level of Hashem, level of Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is Echad, which is the source of the worlds. But there's a level beyond that, which is Hashem Elokeinu, the place where our neshama and the Eibishter are one, which is completely transcendent of the world. That's the pshat in this mimer of Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Right? So let's see. The Havaya Rishon, the first Yud Kei Vav Kei in the pasuk, Hu Havaya de La'ela, is the higher level, the completely transcendent level. Shalamayla mishtalshlus. It's beyond ishtalshlus. It's not God as the source of worlds. There's no world. It's nothing but the Eibishter. Ein Eid Milvadai. It's all Him. It's not all Him. There's no all to be Him. It's just Him. All Him, that's Yehudi Ilah. It's just Him, that's beyond Yehudi. There's no all. It's nothing. It's just the Eibishter. Ultimately, define existence. God. So anything else that has existence? No. Because nothing else has existence that he has. So then if I'm going to define existence with a capital E, then nothing else has that. Does the world have that? No. Nothing has it. Ultimately, to be the highest levels of godly light don't even have that. Why? Well, because if you want to truly define existence, So then you'll define it in terms of what God's about. So you know what? Existence doesn't have a source in anything else. It just is. What's that? I don't know. We've talked about that a lot, right? Well, how did we? That's the level of eloquence that we can't understand. Where did he come from? He didn't. What does he do? He doesn't. Why is he there? He just is. Well, who put him there? No one put him there. He's just there. Well, why is he there? I don't know. He's just there. Well, when did he show up? He didn't. There's no when. There's just this being called God. Impossible to understand. Who put him there? Moshe put him there because Moshe had to make a living. No. Avram put him there. No. God doesn't exist because I do. I exist because he does. Where did he come from? He didn't. What's that called in Chassidus? Basically the only thing we can say about the essence of God, Mitziusim etzmus, he exists by virtue of himself. He just is. No one put him there. So ultimate existence is something that is completely and totally independent of anything else. It exists by virtue of itself. No other state of reality could possibly say that about itself. Parenthetically, except you and I, because we experience it. It's not true, and it's what we experience. Therefore, we understand that the source of our existence is that level of godliness. Okay, that's a separate discussion, but it's something to think about. It's pretty cool. That's why this is the place of the revelation of that level of godliness. When that level of godliness wanted to be revealed, he created this, that you and I might actually think that I'm independent, that I exist by virtue of myself. I have to work very hard not to think that. Okay. Why? Because the source of me is a level of godliness, which really does exist by virtue of itself. Okay. All other levels of existence do not have that level of existence. So if I define existence absolutely, I'll define it in terms of that. There's no world, there's nothing. There's not even infinite godly light. Because infinite godly light, interestingly enough, relative to that state of reality, is called ayin. It's not that. It's not existence by virtue of itself, because what's the one thing we know about light more than anything else? As soon as you see light, what does that light reveal?
As a source.
Beautiful, it has a source. That's why we use light as a muscle for godliness, right? Because it helps us appreciate the fact that everything we experience has a source and a level beyond it. It doesn't exist by virtue of itself. That's exactly what that means. There's one level of reality that does, and it's called the Eibishter. How does that work? I don't know. Completely counterintuitive. Okay. The beginning of it all. About light, what do we say? Ein sof. It has no end. It's infinite. About etzem, what can we say? Something that can't be said about anything else. Ein tchila. It has no beginning. Light has a beginning. At some point, so to speak, in non-time, the essence of God decided, infinite godly revelation would be cool. There's an explosion of light. That light is, so to speak, sucked back into its source. It's called Tzimtzum Rishon. The kav is boikeya into that space, so to speak, and worlds end up happening. Wow. Before that, there's no before, right? Okay, say that, but so to speak, before that, what was there? What was he doing? He wasn't doing. He just was being. Impossible to understand what that means. Absolutely impossible. But that's the ultimate in what the Eibishter is about. So that, to a certain degree, I mean, Havaya De'ela is even, is even not quite that, but basically. Okay. So Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, that level where our soul and God are one. Hashem Echad, the level where God is the world, is the source of the world, but also is the world. The world is just an expression of Him, but there's a world that's an expression of Him. Not Yochid. Let's find a place in the Maimer to stop, and we'll pick up tomorrow. The Havaya Rishon Havaya De'ela. Relative to this level of Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's not relevant to say Shu Echad, that He's one, B'Zayin Rakim, in the 7 levels of heaven, the Aretz and the earth, Ubadala Gruchei Selim, in the 4 directions of earth. Is there a period anywhere? Next line. Sha'are Hu Yochid, and now the Rebbe uses a very interesting word. The Efes Zulosah, there's nothing other than Him. it's not like there's, so to speak, a reality that is him. No, there's the world. No, there's a reality that looks like it's not him, but it really is. No, there's nothing. Ain't no God. Matter of fact, there's an interesting machlekes in Chassidus. There's two different ways of explaining it. What's the difference between Einoid and Einoid Milvada? Which is higher? So there's two different ways of explaining it, but relative to this, to make it simple. Einoid, there's nothing else. Einoid Milvada, there's nothing else other than him. Meaning there's an other than him, but the other than him is really Ein. It's not. Don't worry about it. Right? That's one way. There's a way of explaining that actually Einoid Milvada is higher than Einoid. Okay, but in terms of what we're just Einoid, there's nothing else. There's nothing. You can't even say there's a Milvada that's not him. There's nothing. It's just him. In absolute terms, define existence. What exists? The essence of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's it. Yochid. Not Echad. Wow. So that's one level. Let's finish at the period. V'avaya habes. The second level of Avaya. Hashem Elokeinu. That's the first. Hashem Echad. Avaya de Latata. That's the Avaya that's shaykh to the world. Avaya de Ishtalshlus, the level of godly reality. This is the source of worlds. V'lochin shaykh be'lashon echad. So about that, it can be said echad. Even though that everything you experienced in the realm that this is the source of is a reality of multiplicity, even 10 spheres. Even in the Eibishter himself, there's a revelation of 10 different aspects of godly reality. But ultimately, he's one. Echad. Don't get confused by 10 spheres. Don't get confused by the, for all intents and purposes, infinite amount of reality that's down here. It's all Echad. It's all just here. Don't get confused. That's the second time we say Avaya in Shema Yisrael. The first one, there's nothing to get confused about because there's nothing else. Okay, you and I down here might be confused. But we can also make the statement that at least I might have a hard time living it. I might have a hard time experiencing it. But at least I appreciate. The first step is to appreciate intellectually the whoa. It's not get carried away by all this stuff. There's just him. Okay. See where the Rebbe takes us next.
Thank you. Thank you. Moshe. Moshe was in the US Navy.
Nice to meet you. Hi.